Welcome, Star Wars fans, to episode 137 of Tatooine Suns. It's a Mandalorian galaxy, and we're all just living in it. After months of speculation and rumors, Ahsoka Tano made her live-action debut in Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian. But that's the part that wasn't a surprise. We've dedicated our entire hot take segment to geeking out about everything that happened in this groundbreaking episode. If we have any time or energy left after that, we'll spend a few minutes sharing our thoughts on the rolliest of all the Star Wars droids, BB-8, and why his unwavering determination helped save the galaxy.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
It's time for Tatooine Suns.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Suns. Everybody was lit.
Welcome, Star Wars fans, to This is Tatooine Suns, your weekly look at all things Star Wars from the unique perspective of a father sharing his love for the amazing space fantasy saga with his two sons. I'm BB Nate, and I'm joined first by my brother, Samuel the Hutt.
To Star Wars fans, thanks for tuning in. And if you're not a Star Wars fan, then you might want to consult your nearest Star Wars fan to explain to you who this Ahsoka Tano character is.
Because she's pretty flippin' awesome.
Yeah, and she's not new. She's been around for a long time.
We're going to have some listener voicemails a little bit later.
Yeah.
And what JG said about her, comparing her to the legacy characters is absolutely correct, I believe, and really kind of mind-boggling, so I'm excited.
And of course, you can't have Star Wars without bizarre father figures. So on that note, here's my dad's bowtie Jedi guy.
Welcome to our 3rd anniversary episode. Can you believe this?
I need
I know. Some kind of a sound maker or whatever like that. I got a sound effects board here. I don't know what I've got here for it. Here, let's do claps. Let's find some claps here. Hold on. You guys keep talking amongst yourselves.
We're going to keep talking. We've done this for 3 years, Nathan.
Yes.
That's a long time.
It's been almost 3 years since the Turbis
We
thing
have literally
happened.
moved all the way across the country.
Literally from California. Here, I could do this clap, but this one's not really a good one.
Yeah, it's something. It works.
Yeah, that's good.
From California to Florida.
To Orlando. But we're not in Orlando.
Not at the moment.
No, we are in Orange Beach, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So some of you have heard us talk about coming to Alabama a few times over the last few months. And we come here about once a month for some medical stuff and maybe some other things. Right, Sam? Is there anything else that you come here for?
No, I can't really think of anything.
Oh, she better not hear that. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, we've got so much to talk about. But before we jump in, we're going to move some things around because we want to get straight to Mandalorian stuff. But before we do that, I want to encourage every single one of you listening to this to join in our Toys for Tots partnership. There's about 12 awesome podcasts that are part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network, and we're not a part of the network officially, but there's a lot of other shows that have joined in what they're doing for Toys for Tots, and we are getting Christmas gifts for kids that would not get Christmas gifts. And so you can go to beyondtheblastdoors.com/toys. Can you guys see that? Toy Drive. Thank you. I don't have my glasses, and it hyperlinked it, so it's a different color on my page, and it's impossible for me to see. Was it that way for you guys?
I was wondering why that looked weird.
Yeah, beyondtheblastdoors.com/toy drive, and it'll have a list of different Star Wars toys. I think we're going to get some Porg stuff in the mix here in the next few days because Turbis is canon. and do forward. But before we get into the Mandalorian stuff, which is definitely a big thing that we want to talk about, it was an awesome weekend, end of the week for Star Wars, but also a very sad end of the week for Star Wars. As we woke up this morning, it's Sunday when we're recording this. You're probably either listening to this on Monday or you're listening to it on Tuesday evening on Helium Radio Network after dark. On our time slot there. But if you're listening to it, then we woke up Sunday morning and you've by now heard that David Prowse, the actor who physically portrayed the Darth Vader character in the original trilogy, had passed away after a long and full life, and he did so many more things than just Darth Vader, but most of us would only know him from Darth Vader. And so we want to take a second to talk about how amazing he is, and just say our prayers are with his family and with his friends in this time of sadness and loss for them. So it's a loss for everybody in the Star Wars community, because he may have had a hard time at times with the Star Wars official Star Wars world and George Lucas and things. And if you know his story, you know that there were some challenges there. But in the end, you can't tell the Star Wars story without telling the story of David Prowse, and so it's a sad day for Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
So, but we've got a lot of other things to talk about, so we're going to jump right into it. Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian was something out of a dream. It had some things that we expected, some things that we didn't, and then there was one name drop. I don't think anybody saw it coming at the end, and that's going to be all up next on Hot Takes.
This is where the fun begins.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
All right, Ahsoka Tano has successfully transitioned from animation to live action. Fan favorite character Ahsoka Tano made her long hoped for appearance in live action in Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, and there is a whole lot to discuss here with this. So let's get some initial impressions of Ahsoka before we get into some of the other things that happened in the episode. Sam, let's start with some of the basic stuff. How did you feel about some of her first moments on screen?
Okay. Well, first, I wasn't expecting those first moments to happen so soon in the episode. I was expecting them to bring that in way later, but it was literally the first thing we saw. So that was nice. They didn't keep us waiting for it. I really liked the way they handled her character. She was scary. I think everybody kind of described her as if a Jedi was Batman. She was doing all those.
Yeah, what do you think about that, BB Nate?
Oh,
Jedi
yeah.
is Batman?
Yeah.
Do you agree? You're
doing
the
all,
Batman aficionado at this table.
She was using fear.
Yeah, and disappearing
I
and
will admit,
reappearing.
those soldiers at the beginning had very good tactics, falling back and grouping up into each other to.
Yeah, in waves. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was good.
It was good.
It didn't work though.
No.
No, I really liked it. I think it was a great way to introduce Ahsoka and be like, this chick means business, y'all. She's not just in a kids show anymore.
Yeah, now BB Nate, some have suggested that her slightly more Clone Wars appearance indicates that this takes place before the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels. Do you agree with that? He wants to agree with it. I can see it in his face.
Yes.
Okay, so you think that,
I do.
You think that the actual look of her is indicative of that, or do you think that you just decided that it takes place before the epilogue?
I feel like it takes place before the epilogue. I feel like it takes place right before. I think that it all works out. She was searching for information on where Grand Admiral Thrawn was. She found somebody that had information, got the information, is going to go pick up Sabine to go search out to see if it was correct.
Yeah, she doesn't have the white staff that she had. She doesn't have the white robe that she had. Her was not Leku, because those are Twi'lek, I think. But her
Hair,
tail things or whatever are a lot shorter. That might just be a design thing. Because
actually, they came out yesterday and explained officially that the reason that her, whatever, we're going to call them I know that's the mongrels, I think is what I've heard somebody call them or whatever. Those montrails is what they're called.
Yeah.
They're shorter intentionally in this because of the movement and the action that she had to do. It wouldn't work.
That makes sense.
It would have been harder to do if they were longer.
Rebels itself just has a different design choice than any of the other ones. It has a really thin lightsaber, so it's all really based off Ralph McQuarrie art. So it makes sense that she'd look a little different. It's just kind of like a creative choice in a way too.
But BB Nate, why do you think, or why do you want this? Because you've been talking about this for a long time. Why do you want this to take place before the epilogue?
I want it to take place before the epilogue because if it does, then that means that they now have a trail. They now have a way to go start looking for Ezra.
Because we're going to save what that trail is for a little later in the conversation. Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right. That's awesome.
Okay.
Do either of you feel that Rosario, or let's just kind of get your opinions on both of you guys on this. I'll start with you, Sam. Do you feel that Rosario Dawson was successful in embodying Ahsoka?
Oh, absolutely. There was never a moment when I was like, I don't know, it kind of takes me a second to like realize this is Ahsoka. No, it worked completely for me. The look worked. I know a lot of people are upset about the voice, but I really didn't notice much of a difference, or not enough to where it was like off-putting. I think she had the I think the words like cadence down of the speaking, which is what I think made the most difference.
It would have been even more distracting and less appetizing if she was trying to mimic Ashley Eckstein.
Right.
If she was trying to voice Ashley Eckstein voicing Ahsoka, she followed the cadence. She followed some of the. It's very similar to the way that Alden Ehrenreich had to pick up the voice cadence and the mannerisms of Harrison Ford to play Solo. But if he was trying to sound like Harrison Ford playing Solo, then it wouldn't have worked. So that was good. What did you think about this, BB Nate? Do you like the way that Rosario handled this?
I think it worked just fine. It seemed like a older, wiser, more roughed up version of Ahsoka. I mean, even the voice just sounded like a little bit of an older Ahsoka. So I think it all worked out very well. Because you got to think, I mean, Rebels was set, 15 years after we last saw her?
In between Clone Wars and Rebels?
Yeah.
It was about 15 years.
And so, I mean, this one is like a good solid 10 more.
Yeah.
And
Since Rebels started.
Yes.
With this. Yeah.
So I think that it works how she's older.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's talk about some of the key story points because we talked a little bit about the character itself coming into live action. But let's talk about the story a little bit with Ahsoka. Sam, where has Ahsoka been since the fall of the Galactic Empire?
Yeah, that's the only thing they really haven't addressed at all. Like with her character, we know where she was right after Order 66 with the Ahsoka novel. We've seen Rebels, so we kind of know what she was doing a little bit between 3 and 4, and then now we see her in Mandalorian, but we have no idea what she's been doing throughout the original trilogy, and I couldn't give you an answer. My best guess would be, I don't know, maybe she's helping the rebellion still. Well, we know because she was stuck in the world between worlds, wasn't she?
We don't know what happens from the time she in the World Between Worlds episode where she goes back into the temple. At the end of Rebels. And she goes back into that between that and when she shows up at the end in the epilogue, we don't know what she's been doing in that. And I don't think we really.
It's kind of. I think
it's left in the air. I think.
Someone said this somewhere. It might have been in an article. It's very Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White idea. She could have been doing going across space and time, fighting to become this better Jedi or whatever. So I mean, it could be anything. If she's locked up in the world between worlds at that point.
That's awesome. Now, BB Nate, it seems like Ahsoka was a little more ruthless in the way, and we talked about Batman a little bit, kind of had that feel to it in the way that she took out her enemies. Is she walking a line between light and dark in this?
No, I think that she's not a Jedi, and she's not a Sith. She's doing what she thinks is right.
She's a Force user functioning as a Force user.
Yes,
that is
she's
good.
doing what she thinks is her form of justice. So,
and you got to keep in mind these guys aren't necessarily innocent.
No,
there's trained militia soldiers who have been oppressing these citizens, and Lord knows what else.
Electrocution cages.
Yeah, it kind of almost had a crucifixion Roman Empire motif to it. The way that
it was
they were
very depressing. So they're not innocent.
It wasn't just about putting them in prison. It was about humiliating them and terrifying the population.
Right,
and that's very crucifixion-esque in the way the Roman Empire did. Sam. So there's this dialogue, this conversation that goes on between Ahsoka and Mando about Baby Yoda. We'll talk about that and name it and all in just a minute. But where Ahsoka seems to agree to Mando's demands to train the baby, the child, if Mando helps her in the city. And that then it seems like she doesn't go along with that. If you've seen the episode, you know what we're talking about. And if you haven't seen the episode, then
go watch the episode.
Why are you listening to the show? Believe me, the episode's a lot better than us. Sam, did Ahsoka lie to Mando?
I don't think she was lying. No, I don't think she fully anticipated to not train Baby Yoda. I just think that when she got up there, she saw even more how connected they were and realized I can't do this. And I don't think that's a lie. When she told Mando that, I believe she was fully planning on training Baby Yoda. I think that she changed her mind when she realized she can't put herself in that position, like to train someone who's been connected like that, because she's again seen how that can turn out.
I mean, she thinks that attachments are bad for the Jedi, and I can understand that. That's what she was taught, but she also does. The only person she's met as a Jedi that has had attachments was Anakin, and you saw how that turned out.
Right. Well, no, I disagree.
Well, I mean,
she saw lots of attachments.
Kanan and Ezra.
She's seen Kanan and Ezra,
but the thing is she's only the way she can train is the only way that she was taught. So she wouldn't be able to train these people in the ways that Kanan did.
A good point.
In the ways that these Jedi that had attachments would be able to, because she's never had any.
Yeah, and that's what we've been talking about. I mean, obviously, Ahsoka refuses to train Grogu because I spilled his name here, but anyway, Baby Yoda, because of his attachments to Mando. When she explains this, she's clearly, again, referencing Anakin, like you guys have been talking about. Is Ahsoka simply stating facts, or do you think that all comes from a place of kind of personal pain about what happens with Anakin and what she experienced there? That's clouding her judgment, or that she's never really recovered from.
I think that she blames herself for what happened to Anakin.
Blames herself?
Yes. I think that she thinks that if she didn't leave the Jedi Order, Anakin wouldn't have fallen to the dark side.
That started him down the path.
That's true.
And so she blames herself. And so she doesn't want to lead somebody with attachments down the same path as Anakin again, because she can't have that on her conscience. So yes, I do think that it was a personal pain that she never recovered from.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of both. I think she's been trained to believe that attachments are wrong her entire life. She never really formed too deep of attachment. I mean, she had an attachment to Anakin, but she was willing to give that. She wasn't too set in her ways with her attachments or whatever. And so I think she believes that attachments are a liability and they can get in the way. And she has proof of how that can turn out. So,
and if you look at the Ahsoka novel, she made friends and attachments on that planet. I don't remember what the planet was called, but they were killed by the Inquisitors. So just like she thinks that if I make attachments with people, then they'll die. That kind of a situation. So she doesn't want to make any of that.
Okay, now the episode was titled "The Jedi." So has Ahsoka reconciled herself with her Jedi past, or is this just a classic misdirect on the way that they titled it?
I don't know.
Who wants to take this?
I almost feel like it's neither. I think that to any outside observer, like anyone in that town, they're going to look at her and think that's Jedi. They're not going to. I mean, what else do you call her? So I think it's just kind of like that's what she is to everybody. Now, whether she subscribes to that religion or whatever in this case is a whole other story. But I think to anybody who's concerned in the Star Wars universe, she's a Jedi.
Okay.
If we're going by this this whole series is from the view of the Mandalorian. We can tell this. They hint at it during this episode. I mean, when Ahsoka is forced talking with Baby Yoda, you're only seeing the back shots from the Mando's perspective. You never really get to see up close. You aren't with them. You're with the Mandalorian. And if we're going by this, they're calling it chapters. If we're going by this as like a journal of the Mandalorian, he keeps describing all these people he's met, the Harris, the Jedi, because these are what he thinks they are. So I don't think she's gone back to her. I don't think she's a Jedi. That's not what I'm saying. I think that the Mandalorian perceives her as a Jedi because that's what
he thought Baby Yoda was a Jedi or came from the Jedi because he was just able to use the Force.
Yeah.
So the reason they're calling it the Jedi is because of what Bo-Katan did, sending him to Ahsoka, and obviously he's trying to connect them with the Jedi, and so she's That's what it kind of fits the story.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now we love, one of the things I love is when we get to hear from you guys, and so we set up a voicemail phone line for questions and for us to get you guys to interact more. And we got a couple of you guys that sent in some awesome messages to us, and we're going to play a couple of them here that directly relate to this. The first one is from our good old buddy JG Cars.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's JG Cars here. And I definitely wanted to share my thoughts because I think this is going to be one of the biggest changing things for Star Wars moving forward. Specifically, though, about Ahsoka. You guys know how much I love Ahsoka because of my love for Clone Wars. I was thinking about that. Han, Luke, and Leia, those characters are legacy characters for people like my father, for example. But for me, my legacy character is Ahsoka. And getting to see her come in live action was just, man. Rosario Dawson, in my opinion, she killed it. Exactly what I thought an older Ahsoka would be. I am so happy. I love the name Grogu. And I have some thoughts for what I think is actually happening here. I think, honestly, I don't think Grogu is going to get accepted when we go to the Jedi Temple. And in regards to that Jedi Temple place, or I don't even know if it's a Jedi Temple, but the place, I think it actually could be setting up the Darth Bane project that's been rumored going around, because that is heavily featured in the Darth Bane trilogy in Legends. So it could be Disney once again setting up a backdoor, whether it be a Darth Bane series or a Darth Bane movie. I think they are using The Mandalorian to really set up these other shows and these other projects, which I think it could come off as annoying to fans, but marketing is genius. But overall, this episode, and come on, that Thrawn drop. Thrawn's not a Mandalorian. No. It's going to be part of that Ahsoka quest, part of that Ahsoka story. I mean, unless we're all wrong, and maybe Thrawn is the big baddie, but I think it's part of Ahsoka's quest. So yeah, this episode, Dave Filoni, it wasn't perfect, but guess what? Star Wars isn't perfect. George Lucas didn't make perfect movies, so I'm not expecting perfection. I'm just expecting to sit down and have a good old time. So I hope you guys are all doing well. And you can also check me out as I co-host on the Star Wars Canon podcast. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you, JG.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good to have him back on the show. It's been a while with that. All right, he said a lot in there.
Yes.
I want to focus in on the Ahsoka stuff with that. What did you think about the idea of, and I teased this earlier in the show, but the idea of Ahsoka being the legacy characters of the Clone Wars animation, Star Wars Rebels era, and how that's translating forward?
I mean, animation has always been the big part for Sam Nei's Star Wars journey. I mean, and I can see how he'll say Ahsoka is his legacy character because of his generation, and I can agree with that. I mean, the Rebels crew is kind of my legacy character because it's what I grew up with.
Yeah,
it's what got me into
Ezra
Star Wars. Yeah, Ezra,
that, yeah.
Kanan, Hera, Zeb, Sabine, and Chopper. Those are my legacy characters, and each generation we're going to get new people that have different characters in their opinion that are Star Wars to them. And so his being Ahsoka, because that was the big thing in the early 2000s was Clone Wars and Ahsoka. So I think that it's going to be great because it's moving on to different generations.
Yeah, I mean, the next generations of kids their legacy characters are going to be Mando or Baby Yoda or Rey and Finn and Poe. But for Nathan and I think our thing is the Rebels. But for him, it's Ahsoka and those characters, which I think is really neat because Star Wars is a multi-generational thing, and different characters are going to appeal to different generations.
That's awesome. All right, we got another voicemail here. Let's let it go ahead. He'll introduce himself, so we'll just do that.
Hey, Dave, Sam, and Nate. This is Adam over at From a Certain Point of View. First, I just want to say a huge congratulations for 3 years of Tatooine Sons. After doing our show for a year now, I can say that, doing this for 3 years is definitely no easy feat, but you three make it look so effortless and fun. You're absolutely an inspiration to me and to so many content creators out there. So, Mando, Chapter 13, The Jedi. Couple little Easter eggs in there, huh? Nothing huge. Who am I kidding? Ahsoka, Thrawn, Tython. There's so much to be excited about here. I will be honest, and I don't want to drag down, how I feel about this episode overall, so I don't want to spend much time with this. I have a couple little reservations about Ahsoka. I do wish Ashley would have been given a shot at that role. There are a couple design choices with Ahsoka that I question. But, Rosario Dawson did a wonderful job. Don't want to take anything away from her. The action was incredible. The lightsaber fights were just superb. And, oh my gosh, lightsabers on Beskar. What? We get to see that. That's so cool. I absolutely loved the feel of this episode. The mix of samurai and Western was just amazing. Diana Lee in Inosanto was just such a cool choice to play the leader of that town. She's Dan Inosanto's daughter, Bruce Lee's goddaughter. So cool to bring her into that show there. Perfect fit, too. Honestly, I believe this is actually Ahsoka's one and only appearance in this show. Her line about Thrawn, I see, as a blatant setup for her own spinoff. Her part in, Din's story seems to be pretty neatly tied up, as opposed to, Cobb Vanth and Bo-Katan that were both kind of left a little more open-ended for them to come back later. I really think that this is Ahsoka's one and only appearance on The Mandalorian, and, I think from here we'll be seeing her on her own show. In summary, while there's some things that I'm still processing, this was an amazing entry to an incredible show. There's so much to be excited for here, so much to love. Once again, congrats to you three for a third year of top-notch Star Wars content. Looking forward to many more years to come.
Oh, thank you, Adam.
Yes.
That was very sweet. And yeah, it's hard to believe we're celebrating 3 years of doing this. You guys need to check out From a Certain Point of View podcast as well. They're as well as Star Wars Canon with JG. Great stuff. All right, he talked about a lot on there, but I want to focus in on some of the Ahsoka stuff. Let's first, BB Nate, is this our only episode of The Mandalorian where we see Ahsoka? And if so, where are we going from there?
I think that
he's yawning.
I am.
All right, nice. Great audio there.
It's great. I do think that this is the only thing we see of Ahsoka on The Mandalorian. I do think we get a spinoff. Dave Filoni doesn't just kind of set up her journey from now on and then just do nothing with it. It's not how he rolls, and it's not how I think.
Yeah, he's got a brand new canvas that he can tell a story about Ahsoka, his favorite creation, on, and it works.
But we're not a part of the trust tree, so we don't know.
Yeah, if Dave wants to put us in the trust tree, we'll be more than happy. We don't spoil anything with that. Samuel the Hutt, do we see her in anything else?
No, I think that was a sort of like I think the idea is like a backdoor pilot almost, kind of like saying, hey, if you want more Ahsoka, she's going to be off looking for Thrawn. But as for Mandalorian, I think she is finished. He put it nicely. He's like, it felt like it drew to a close with Mando, while Cobb Vanth and Bo-Katan did feel a bit more open-ended in their ending. So, yeah, I think we're done with Ahsoka in this series.
Okay. So he also brought up Rosario Dawson and not specifically her. He thought she did amazing, which I think we all did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But brought up how he had sort of hoped to see Ashley Eckstein play this character in live action.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about this, but I'm sure we've got new listeners that haven't heard our thoughts on this in the past. We aren't as emotionally tied to Ahsoka as the super fans from the Clone Wars were. Mm-hmm. We're super fans of Star Wars Rebels. And yes, she's got a big part of that character, and we love all the Clone Wars characters with Ahsoka, but we're not tied to Ashley in that same way. So what did do you think that Ashley should have been given the shot to do this?
It's a very difficult situation. It's kind of like you can't do it and then change. If you're going to do another show, you can't just change actresses. You have to stick with that one. And it's not like the jeans guy. You can't just edit him out.
We'll talk about that later, right?
But I do think that I do think they should have. I wanted her to try. I mean, it's the voice. It's the character. Of course, I'm wanting, if they're doing an Ezra put into the Ahsoka show, I kind of want Taylor Gray, that's his name, right?
Sure.
I want him to play Ezra because that's the voice. That's the character. I want, of course, Lars Mikkelsen to play Thrawn, even though he will pull it off perfectly. Because
he's a live action actor that's done a lot. So
yeah, I mean, the voices are tied with these people. But Rosario Dawson did great. They can keep her with Ahsoka, and nobody will particularly mind. But I guess we'll just never know if Ashley would have done a good job, which is sad. She would have loved to, but we'll never know.
Okay, Sam. So I've seen people say that they were upset that Jon Favreau and even I've seen people say they were upset Dave Filoni didn't push for this. That Ashley never even got an audition for this. What do you think the world would have done if they found out that Ashley Eckstein did audition officially for this character and not get it? How do you think that would have made fans feel? And how do you think that would have made Ashley feel if she actually came into an audition thinking she had a shot to play this, and they were just doing? Because some people have said you owed her that audition, even if you didn't think you were going to give her that. Do you think that would almost have been dishonoring of Ashley Eckstein?
I feel like it would have backfired. Because I just don't think she can play the character in live action. She's just not the build. She doesn't have the right face. Even if you put makeup on it, it just won't quite look right. And I'm not sure. She's not a live action actor, so I don't know.
Well, she's done some, but not a lot.
Right. So I don't know if she has the physicality that would be needed to be able to pull this character off in live action. So you got to put yourself in Lucasfilm's shoes. Do you sacrifice the look, the physical acting, all of that for the voice, or do you compromise a bit on the voice so you can have it look right in live action and play right? So yeah, I do agree that giving her an audition and then her not getting the role would have just backfired.
I think it would have felt dishonoring for her to just get an audition and not get it, because
just a token. Hey, we're trying to, you're Ashley, we love you, so yeah, you can come in and audition, but never really consider giving her the part.
Yeah, not giving her an audition is. This sounds really strange, but the highest honor they could give her. Saying, we know you are this character, and we're knowing that there's going to be a lot of backlash from this fan base. We know that they want you to play her. But we just don't want to give you an audition because we think that you won't fit with the role of the character that we all love
physically,
so much.
It doesn't work the same way.
We know that you're the voice, but we just need somebody else to play her. It's still your character, and it always will be.
Yeah, and Ashley congratulated Rosario.
Yeah, Ashley's handled herself as the rock star that she is. She's always been amazing, and she congratulated Rosario Dawson and welcomed Rosario Dawson to Team Tano.
Yeah.
And of course, Rosario was extremely generous and gracious and thanked Ashley for it.
Because not only is she in Star Wars now, but she's in Star Wars as Ahsoka.
Yeah, and so I think they're both handling it as best as you could possibly handle it. Do I think that Ashley and some of the things that she said when it was originally announced, leaked in the spring, that Rosario was going to be playing Ahsoka and that it wasn't just an idea, that it was actually happening? And Ashley came out and she said she didn't get the audition. She doesn't know who's playing the character, but it's not her. And you could sense in some of the things that she said on her Instagram and on things that she was hurt. And she is Ahsoka Tano. So
she always will be.
Yeah, exactly. And so I get it. And it's okay. It's okay that Ashley Eckstein is hurt.
Yeah.
But I also feel like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, I think that honestly the conversation happened between Dave and Ashley, and Dave was like, I love you. And but we have to go in this other direction, and there's hurt there, but I don't think that their relationship is damaged. I don't think that she's mad at Dave or anything like that. I just think it's the way the world works. And this is about making money and about business choices. And
I mean, Ahsoka is both their character.
Yeah.
Dave loves Ahsoka. We know this. Ashley loves Ahsoka. So it probably hurt Dave as much.
I'm
Ashley
sure it did. Yeah.
But he just had to make that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the next part of this because we've only talked about 1 out of 3 topics on The Mandalorian.
This is going to be a lot.
We're going to get through this in less than an hour, though. The child has a name.
Yeah.
And the name is Grogu.
Which
Okay.
I like it.
I'm not sure any of us saw that coming in this episode, but we now know that Grogu is the name of the adorable green character everyone has been calling Baby Yoda for more than a year. But that's not all that we learned about this Force-sensitive 50-year-old child. Before we get into that, Nate, as the official namer of a canon Star Wars character, Turbis is canon. How do you feel about the name Grogu?
I like it. I mean, Yoda's strange. Yaddle is strange.
Turbis is strange.
Yeah, so Grogu works.
Okay.
It kind of fits with Baby Yoda. Grogu.
Yeah, it
kind of fits with his personality.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's
a name. Names, especially in Star Wars, are all made up and weird. So like,
did we want to call him Bobby?
Yeah, what do y'all expect? Like,
I don't know.
He's not going to have some major name like Skywalker. Like,
all right, now Sam, the bigger reveal about Grogu is that he was once a youngling in the Jedi Temple and that he was hidden away during the Jedi Purge. What do you think's going on here, bud?
You know, a lot of Jedi went into hiding, so it makes sense that a couple younglings somewhere along the way were found a way to hide or were hidden.
He was specifically hidden. They said he was taken out of the Jedi Temple and hidden.
So
I wonder by who, though.
I know.
And so that's got to be. We're going to have to get more of that story. They don't just throw that in there and not explain it. Maybe we'll see that in the future episodes. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll be like a comic series or something. Because he's going to be.
Do you think that they're going to add like 20 minutes to Revenge of the Sith and do a special edition where they have Baby Yoda?
Baby Yoda goes into hiding. I must go.
Hides into in a closet. And sees
into hiding?
Anakin. Slash close friend. Somebody said that. I'm like, that is
sad.
But I mean, like, if you go back in the timeline, like he's like an infant at this time. Like he's got to be really
but it
young.
said it was interesting is that Ahsoka tells Din Djarin that he was trained by many masters as a Padawan, and that's how he knows how to use the Force. This story is really interesting because you've got him born in the exact same year as Anakin with it. So by the time we get to Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, he's early mid-20s at this point. Makes sense. At this point, do we get that story in a novel? Do we get that story in like a flashback sequence? How do we get that story in this? Because we got to get it at some point.
I mean, we might see it in the next episode. Even we never know when these things are going to happen. We didn't know when his backstory was going to happen. We
didn't know when he was going to get a name.
We knew he was going to get a name this season.
Yeah, they've been saying that. Yeah,
but we didn't know when, and they just dropped it this episode, just kind of like in passing conversation. He's like, and Grogu does it. And we're like, what?
Did she just say his name?
Yeah. I think we might see it in a flashback sequence in the next episode as he's reaching out for the Force, maybe connecting with his backstory and everything.
Mm-hmm. Unlocking those memories again.
I'm just wondering, many masters, that's weird. That means one master couldn't stay long.
Well, they are not, Padawans are like younglings. Don't take a master immediately. Yeah. So
I wonder how Yoda felt about Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is really, really interesting with it. Go ahead, Sam. You got more to say?
Hiding. I'm wondering who hid him, because like they said, many Jedi weren't left after the Purge, and all that were found by Darth Vader and the Inquisitors. So
now we talked a little bit about this in the previous portion of this segment. We were talking about Ahsoka, but again, after Ahsoka sees Grogu's intense bond with the Mando, she refuses to train him in the Force. Is this a good decision or is this a bad decision?
Great decision for business wise, because bringing Baby Yoda out of the show wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, you imagine the meltdown that would have been happening on social media over this weekend
if you split up Baby Yoda and Mando.
Oh my goodness! Hold on, I haven't done any sound effects yet, but this one's coming. So
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also think it was a good decision from the standpoint that Ahsoka felt like knew from the Force and everything, felt like that she wasn't the one that was supposed to train Grogu. It's not her place. He wants, and where she sent Grogu was a place where he could decide his fate. He could choose if he wants to continue his training or stay with Mando. That's really going to be what the decision comes down to, because Mando can't train him.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I feel like Ahsoka has had enough of trying to train. Like, she's tried to train Ezra, and it's like, it doesn't work. Like, you need to stick with Kanan, because they had built this bond, and splitting that up would have ended up hurting things. And she's probably got some emotional, like, I guess, baggage with it, with Anakin still, and I don't think she wants to dredge that up or let that get in her way of training Grogu. So I think it is a good decision in the end. And like you said, Nathan, it gives him the choice to decide whether he wants to continue that or not.
Yeah. In the end, Ahsoka sends Mando to the planet Tython, and there's an ancient Jedi temple there. And then she tells Mando to place Grogu on this thing called a seeing stone in the temple, which will allow Grogu. Okay, let's stop. Isn't it kind of funny how many times in this episode Mando kept calling him kid, and Ahsoka kept saying Grogu, like Disney and Lucasfilm is telling the fans, don't call him Baby Yoda anymore, call him Grogu. It's like every time they did that. Anyway, that's an aside. Okay, so she she tells Mando to put him on this seeing stone in the temple, which will allow him to reach out to others through the Force if he chooses. And that's the key piece of that. She explains that if he does this, it's possible that a Jedi who could train him may seek him out. Who's she talking about here? Who are the Jedi candidates that are potentially out there for this?
I don't know, because Cal probably not.
Cal Kestis?
We don't know what his ending was. And
Cal Kestis, last time we saw him, from what I understand, I haven't finished the game yet, but Cal Kestis is seeking out younglings in order to train them, right?
That's the Jedi Order again. Yes.
A lot like what he's wanting Baby Yoda to do. Like these younglings, if they want training, they're gonna be able to get called out. But the thing is, that is so long from that point.
Okay.
We don't know what. There was so much that went on.
He could be dead.
Darth Vader now
knows
knows that he's a Jedi and he's out there.
So he at the end of the story in the game, Darth Vader is aware.
And Inquisitors and everything. So all these people know that there's a Jedi out here and they're trying to find younglings.
Wow.
So
so Cal Kestis potentially, but maybe not so much. Who else?
Probably dead.
Luke's going around looking for temples and stuff at this point. Like we know that from Battlefront.
Do we get a de-aged Luke Skywalker? Mark Hamill playing him de-aged, or do we get Sebastian Stan playing him?
Sebastian Stan, I feel like, is too young, and I feel like Mark Hamill de-aged would be too much.
Yeah.
And then if it would be the biggest backlash if they could de-age Mark Hamill to play Luke Skywalker, why couldn't they dub over Ashley for Ahsoka?
For the voice or something.
And then everything would explode. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it might be a new Jedi.
And Luke would overshadow the series so big.
Yeah, I feel like you have to just do a generic new some sort of Jedi who survived the Purge, because I feel like you try to bring in too many characters in this season and it just kind of starts like...
Well, we're going to talk about another character that they're bringing in that's going to be pretty big, and he's associated with Ezra Bridger.
Yeah.
Is Ezra, BB Nate, that's your boy. That's what you've been asking for.
The show is mine.
I understand, but you know what I mean. You like Ezra and you want to hear his story. So is Ezra the potential Jedi? That seems to be on social media the one that everybody is going towards.
I would like it to see Grogu be the first Padawan of Ezra. That'd be really cool. But there's one problem. I feel like that's a really bad cop-out of, he's reached out with the Force and then Ezra's going to find him. I feel like that's a bad cop-out of Ahsoka and Sabine have been trying to find this person
and then
for
all
so
of a sudden,
long. And then
unless Ahsoka and Sabine have already found Ezra and Thrawn, and then something happened that caused Thrawn to get away from Ahsoka, and that's why she's continuing to pursue him. So, which we'll talk about that in just in a second. So now, the main reason with the attachments and everything that Ahsoka doesn't train Grogu is because she's afraid of what happened with Anakin and the fear and all that.
Fear is the path to the dark side.
Yeah, we know. Thank you, old man Yoda. Anyway, so any chance we see Grogu go dark side?
I don't think so. I think if you do that, the internet will melt down and there will be civil unrest across the planet. So no, I don't think Baby Yoda goes dark side.
I agree with Sam. I don't think he's going to go to the dark side. I think that,
I don't think
he said, it'd be a terrible decision for marketing standpoints. I think that, in my opinion, I don't think he's going to go light or dark. I think he's just going to live his life.
I wish we had like an extra hour to talk about this whole episode, but we're like 40 plus minutes into it, and we still
gotten main topic.
Yeah, and main topic's going to be short today, but there's this whole Tython connection. That goes back to Old Republic. That goes back to Legends. That talks about the birthplace of the Jedi in the Legends universe. It's got the two moons, Ashlyn and Bogan?
Bogan?
Ashlyn and Bogan, which that ties to Bendu, and Bendu was part. There's
in the Tales from the Galaxy's Edge game, in the High Republic spot, you go to this very famous Jedi temple, and I'm like, is that it?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy the connections that are on there, and we had another voice message from one of our long term listeners and supporters.
Great
Ian,
people.
Excited. So I want to make sure we get that one in. So here's the next message.
Hey, David, Nate, and Sam. This is Ian, longtime listener and supporter of Tatooine Sons. First of all, congratulations on your 3rd anniversary. I can't believe it's already been 3 years. I feel like I've been following you guys from your adventures out in California to when you went back to Colorado and now in Florida. And throughout that time, you guys have just been a consistently positive and hopeful voice in the Star Wars fan community. And it's been great to listen to your shows every week. So congratulations on reaching this milestone, and hopefully there'll be many great years to come. So turning to Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, I loved this episode, but probably for different reasons than a lot of people. First of all, the storytelling and visuals were, per usual, absolutely amazing. The only word really that comes to mind to describe this show is cinematic. I mean, it really feels like every week we get treated to a new Star Wars mini motion picture, and that's just the coolest thing ever. My favorite parts of this episode were really, once again, the dynamic and the bond between Din and now I guess Grogu, which is an awesome name. And it's just great to see that dynamic between them. And I really hope that it remains kind of the beating heart and the driving force of this series. And I have full confidence that with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni at the helm, that will remain true. And I can't wait to see where we head over these coming 3 weeks. I can't believe that, the end of season 2 is in sight, and it kind of breaks my heart, but it's going to be a fun ride between here and there. So really looking forward to next week's episode, and also really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. I'm sure this was a very exciting episode for you guys. So congrats again, and here's to more Mando.
Yeah, we were talking about.
Thank you, Ian.
Yes, thank you.
You have been here from the very beginning.
Very, very beginning.
We were talking earlier. It's amazing how much of an emotional connection we all have to a show where the main characters are a dude who you never see his face and a puppet.
Yeah,
like that's unprecedented in any sort of movie or TV show.
It's such a good show. If they can make you feel that good, that means that the writers are fantastic.
The story and the writing and the acting are
the
phenomenal.
puppeting.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's just everything. It's just great.
All right, Ahsoka Tano is seeking out, can you believe it, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm not sure that there was a bigger surprise in Chapter 13 than that revelation from Ahsoka Tano. For those listening who may not have watched or finished Rebels, Sam, give a quick, which, we may be talking about a certain girl's brother when we say that.
He knows who Thrawn is, fortunately.
He does, but
he doesn't know the outcome.
He didn't finish Rebels. He didn't finish the last episode of Rebels.
He watched everything except for the last
He was sitting there watching The Mandalorian with us with this kind of puzzled expression at one point, and that makes a lot of sense because he doesn't know what's going on here. Give a quick recap of the last time we saw the blue guy.
All right, long story short, blue guy and Ezra were stuck on his main Star Destroyer, the Chimera, and all of a sudden, all these Purgles started latching on
Which are
to
hyperspace whales.
Yes, hyperspace whales started latching on.
I love Purgles.
To the Star Destroyer, and they jumped off into hyperspace with Ezra and Thrawn, and that's it.
Yeah,
We have no
and
idea
then
where
of course
they
you have
are.
the epilogue of Rebels, which is Ahsoka shows up after the Battle of Endor on Lothal to grab Sabine to apparently go find Thrawn and Ezra. And that's the last time we saw this. So that
that's
episode's
all
pretty critical to what just happened in this one.
Right.
But if we just spoiled it, please watch the whole series. If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic.
All right, so Nate,
Yes.
BB Nate, you've been adamant in your belief that we are going to learn about what happened to Ezra and Thrawn after Rebels. How did the mention of Thrawn in this episode make you feel?
Angry.
What?
And
What?
excited. Angry because they just decided to drop the name, no announcements for a show, or not even just talking about what the future of that's going to be.
So you don't.
I'm frustrated.
You
that
still
we're-
have too many loose ends.
I'm probably more frustrated now that we're closer to it than I was before. I'm excited that we're getting somewhere, and it feels nice. It was really cool to feel. I was always an adamant belief that we're going to get a series or something about it, because when we were at Celebration at the Remembering Rebels thing, every time Dave Filoni seemed really relaxed other than the last time, because he was able to finally talk about the show. Except whenever somebody asked where's Ezra,
Where Ezra
he
is.
got really uptight and kind of was like, well, we're not going to answer that.
We're not really
dodge
going
those
to talk about.
questions.
Yeah, he's
we're
like,
not-
next
We're not
question.
going to talk about that right now. All right. It's implied that Thrawn is back in business with at least some way with the Splintered Empire. Do you guys think he's working with or against Moff Guardian? Moff Guardian. Moff Gideon.
Everything he's done up until this point has been to help his homeworld and to benefit the Chiss ascendancy. I think right now he's like, all right, I've still got some play in the Empire. I'm going to use them. I'm going to get the resources I need to be able to defend my homeworld. So I think, and I don't think the New Republic's helping at all at this point, because they've got bigger things to deal with. So no, I don't think he's with or against Moff Gideon.
This is just my opinion. I don't think he's with the Empire at all.
I don't either.
Because if we saw the magistrate, she didn't have any even stormtroopers. And
Yeah,
she
but
was.
there's some images going around over where people have taken a look at some of the robots that are in that droids that are in the.
Those are
HK-87?
Yeah,
and they have a faded symbol on the side, which is the 7th Fleet symbol,
Oh, that's true. Okay.
which is what
Yeah,
he
with
led
Thrawn.
in Rebels.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that you guys need to understand, because you haven't read Enter the Empire. You weren't introduced to Thrawn the way that all of us
That's
were
Legends.
introduced to Thrawn. When we're introduced originally to Thrawn, he shows up years after Return of the Jedi, years after the Battle of Endor, because he was out on some type of mission for the Emperor. And he's been missing he wasn't around at all during the Galactic Civil War because of this mission. And he shows up afterwards to resurrect the Empire with it. And it feels like the end of Rebels and then this episode allows for that to be the way that this version of Thrawn is brought into
one
canon.
giant setup for that.
I
wonder. It feels like they're bringing that in.
He is a genius, and he knows what side to play. He thought the Empire was going to win, and then he got surprised. He admitted he was surprised by the Rebels' determination. And at the end, you can see him. He's obviously shocked that he's lost.
Yeah.
I don't think he goes back to the Empire because he knows that they're false, they suck, and they're terrible. So
right.
I don't.
2 final questions. Both of you answer as quickly as possible. Short answers. Is Thrawn coming to The Mandalorian or an Ahsoka spinoff? And who do you think plays him in live action?
Ahsoka spinoff, and crap, why am I forgetting the guy who actually voiced him?
Lars Mikkelsen.
Lars Mikkelsen.
Sam, BB Nate?
Same.
I'm all for both him coming in his own series and that. So we got another voicemail, and there's no way we're going to skip over this voicemail. So yeah, I'm excited about this one here.
Hey, David, and Sam, and Nathan. It is Rick from Jam Transmissions.
And it is Isaac, not from Jam Transmissions.
And first of all, we wanted to call and say happy 3rd anniversary
Of your show.
And, we've been with you since just about the beginning.
Almost.
Meeting you guys at Celebration last year was definitely a highlight. So congratulations on that. We hope you guys had a great holiday this week. And now, Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, The Jedi, All right?
Do it.
So first of all, Ahsoka was pretty top-notch. All right, I got to say, I kind of loved it. I was pretty floored that we got the introduction right at the beginning of the episode, and we had it throughout. But, Isaac, do you have any thoughts on Ahsoka real quick?
Just wow. I don't even have the words for this.
Okay, Isaac doesn't have any more words. They all fell out of his head.
I just said that.
But I do have one question for you guys. What do you think Din Djarin is going to do with the spear, the Beskar spear that Ahsoka gave to him? Do you think he'll melt it down and use it for some kind of armor?
Or fight Moff Gideon with it?
You think he's going to use it to fight Moff Gideon? So, because it's lightsaber resistant. So, anyway, guys. True. Cheers to 3 years. We will talk to you all soon. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
All right, so my question is, when is Isaac going to come on the show? And just be a guest for the entire thing.
You've always been trying to get that.
He was pretty awesome on that. Rick, Isaac, thank you guys so much. With that, all right,
I'm gonna take this question. I think that in the next episode we're gonna get Baby Yoda's gonna be shot at by somebody, and Mandalorian's gonna be like, this is too important to me to not give him armor. So I think we're gonna get.
Is he gonna make some Mandalorian Baby Yoda
grow out of
Grogu? A Grogu, the clan of the Mudhorn clan becomes official on this.
You know, that's what originally I thought until he brought up the fact that he might use it to fight Gideon, which makes sense because Gideon has a saber, and I really want to see Din Djarin use a spear to fight Moff Gideon with.
So lots of people have been comparing this spear to the spear that Phasma has later on.
It's a lot like it.
That's a good point.
But it's
Maybe
not the same
Beskar.
one. It's not the same one.
I don't know. It looks just like it.
It's
All
not
right.
the same.
No, it's not the same spear, though.
Okay, so while it's very unclear, it's unclear as who's directing Chapter 14. We don't know yet. But we know that Jon Favreau is credited with writing the episode, and the next 3 weeks are going to be a very interesting journey for this Mudhorn clan.
Are you brainless? I never asked that question until after I've done it. What?
Okay, so we've got like 15 minutes to finish the show. All right, last week's poll, the best thing about Chopper is we had his connection with Hera, that stubborn streak. He's voiced by Dave Filoni, or other comment below. Your votes, let's see, other comment below got 8.2%. We got a couple comments we're going to read here in a second. 18.4% was his connection with Hera. I was a little disappointed.
That's what I said.
With that. 20.4% said he's voiced by Dave Filoni. And then 53, overwhelming winner, 53.1%, that stubborn streak. Here's some of your thoughts.
So here's Roberto at
Roberto Moreno.
Roberto Moreno.
Yeah.
The best
Another
thing,
long-time listener.
The best thing was the ongoing myth about who's voicing him, and the girl at Celebration being the only one who knew for a long time.
Yeah, he whispered it in her ear early on in the series.
And
she kept it. She was part of the trust tree.
Yeah. Chuck Finley at TARDIS_junkie said he's a borderline psychotic. He shoved another droid out of the cargo bay door and giggled.
That's AP5, isn't it?
No, there was that Imperial droid early on in the series.
He just shoved him out. It was
for no reason.
Gotta love Chopper. All right, let's be honest. This episode may have been like originally part of our series about droids, and we're going to talk about a droid here in just a second. But this week's poll's got to be about The Mandalorian, Chapter 13. We're going to ask you to give a rating. Give Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian a rating on a scale of 1 to 10 Grogu's. 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, or 10. What are you going to give it? 10?
10.
I'm going to go.
I think it's the first one I've given a 10.
I'm going to go 7 to 9.
Yeah, I'm going to put. I mean, it's like a high 9 for me.
It's probably now I rethink it. I'm saving room for the 10.
I don't have anything I wanted more in
right.
that episode. So.
All right. The Disney era of Star Wars began with a cute little ball droid rolling across the sands of Jakku, fully committed to the mission he was given by his friend and master. And if you stop to think about it, if this little droid had decided he didn't need to get that map of Luke Skywalker back to the Resistance, would have had Rey, we wouldn't have had Finn, and without him, the fate of the galaxy would have taken a very different turn.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
All right. BB-8. We got 3 movies, a series with it, some other fun stuff to talk about. But BB-8, what stands out to you, or BB-Nate?
Yes.
What stands out more to you about BB-8?
We're gonna go movie by movie, and I'm gonna start with Force Awakens.
Okay.
Obviously, the first scene in this movie is the most important to his journey. He lets Poe know, hey, the Empire's here. He gets the map from Poe and starts rolling away. And what he thinks his best friend, his brother, is what he felt like, it just blew up. And he grieves for like 5 seconds and then goes on because it's his mission. He's determined to finish his mission. That's his job. And I mean, it's just, I love this character.
Do you think that's because he's a droid and he doesn't have emotion, or
no? Droids have emotion, but I feel like he was determined. He's like,
he knew what was at stake.
This is the most important thing I can do. I have to go get this to the Resistance. And he found this scrapper to be able to help him, this person he didn't know.
Yeah, and then moving on to like The Last Jedi, like not only is he determined to complete his mission, but he's determined to help his friends and save his friends to the point where they're on a Star Destroyer that's falling apart.
Star Destroyer.
Right, because it got hit by a ship going through hyperspace. And
hold on maneuver, baby.
And what does BB-8 decide to do? He decides to hijack an AT-ST walker and start wreaking some havoc, even though everything's going to crap around him.
God bless you, Ryan Johnson.
Right.
So.
Because he's determined to save his friends, and that's what he needs to do in this moment. Plus, don't they have information at this point, too?
Yeah.
They've got to get back.
Yeah. So that's kind of like where he demonstrates that in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And of course, then you have the whole sequence on Rise of Skywalker when they get to Exegol and they're on the destroyer, and he's rolling there right along with Janna and Space Horses and Finn and Rose and Beaumont and where was Turbis in all that?
Real?
How hard would it have been, JJ, to throw Turbis
He's on
that
Batu.
No.
You might be right.
Yeah, because the Tales from Galaxy's Edge. But yeah, so I mean, he's there, he's along, he's going through whatever he has to do in order for them to do this. He's fighting alongside the Resistance as if he's a full-fledged member. And I think there's an element here where they decided to transition sort of the main plot character traits of R2-D2 to BB-8 for the sequel trilogy. But there's some differences in that. And I think the determination really is the biggest one. And that kind of leads us to this week's dad moment. So
I am your father.
Yeah, the most important things in life seldom go the way that they're planned. Bad things happen. Many of us have experienced a lot of those over the past year. But the only path to success in anything is worthwhile is determination. It's easy to give up. It's hard to persevere. But like that little orange and white ball, we need to find that determination to push through the struggles. And that happens when we understand the importance of reaching the goal and what we have to do to get there. And next week, we are going to talk about BB Nate's, one of his absolute favorites. Because
they're all your favorites.
Yeah, the droids are great.
AP5.
Yeah.
With it. He's not too popular, but we're going to talk about him. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
This is a very sad moment, but the Mandalorian erased the jeans guy from chapter 12.
Yeah.
They could have just kept him in there.
But there's a couple people that actually found a way to record and download the entire season, the entire episode, and they have the original version.
I might cosplay that.
The evil henchman in chapter 13, the guy that's like doing the showdown with Mando while
with
Ahsoka's
the laser
battling.
shotgun.
That was cool.
That was awesome.
Pretty awesome. It's actually Michael Biehn from Terminator and Aliens. He was the one that was originally the good guy in Terminator. With that went back to save Sarah Connor, so Sarah Connor
haven't
could give
seen
birth
any
to John.
of these.
He's actually, I think, if he's not mistaken, that makes him John Connor's dad. But anyway,
I haven't seen any of those.
It's both James Cameron films. They're fantastic.
Okay.
So.
And then Disney legend Wing Ti Chow, he kind of helped with all the Asia locations for Disney.
Yeah, the Imagineer and everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
has a cameo in chapter 13 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, he ends up becoming the magistrate after the bad magistrate.
And I was wondering where I'd seen that guy before.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, well, again, thank you guys so much for listening to this. If this is your first time listening to the show, or maybe the first time in a long time, we'd be thrilled. If you just go ahead and smash down that subscribe button on whatever podcast app that you're listening to us on. That way you won't miss a single episode going forward. We've got some exciting things that we're trying to do over the next year, and we'd like you to be a part of that. Make sure you guys participate in that toy drive that we talked about. It ends December 4th, so just a couple of days. BeyondTheBlastDoors.com/toy drive, and participate in that. That would mean a lot to us. So thank you.
Yeah.
For 3 amazing years. It means a lot to us. You guys, literally, there are thousands of Star Wars podcasts out there. And for you to make your choice to listen to ours, to include this in however many podcasts. I mean, there are some people like Michael Condon and such that may have like 940 that they listen to a week. I think that's all that they do, but maybe not quite that many. But some of you, maybe only get to listen to 2 or 3 podcasts a week, and you choose ours. And we want you to know how much we appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. So.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't have kept doing this for these 3 years if it weren't for your guys' support and how much you guys really appreciate the show. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this has been such a fun ride for us. It's been quite a journey, highs and lows, but we've always enjoyed doing it, and I thank you guys for allowing us to be able to keep
and being patient with us when we don't record for multiple weeks on end.
Yeah,
life happens.
It's been a weird year for everybody, so thank you for that. So, anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.
Yep, yep.